The disciples gathered under the ancient Bodhi tree. Curious about the wisdom the Buddha was about to share, the Buddha spoke. His voice calm yet resonant, weaving a tale of profound significance for all who listened. One day, the Buddha began. I wandered into a bustling village. Observing the daily life unfolding before me, I carried my begging bowl, a vessel symbolizing humility, sustenance, and the interconnectedness of existence. A wealthy merchant approached me, his garments adorned with gold and his demeanor brimming with pride and prosperity. In his hands, he held a lavish offering, promising to fill my bowl with his finest feast. Tell me, Bhikkhu, Buddha said, addressing the monk directly, what burdens your heart? Speak without fear or hesitation. The young monk, trembling slightly, rose to his feet, bowing respectfully before the enlightened one. Lord, he began, his voice tinged with sorrow. I cannot find peace. Their eyes met mine, reflecting a quiet perseverance and a spark of curiosity about my presence. I asked them, did you sow the seeds for this rice? Did you reap the harvest in the fields? The laborers replied affirmatively, sharing their stories of struggle, effort, and the joy of nurturing growth. Their words painted vivid images of their labor, revealing the genuine essence of human resilience and dedication. The merchant listened, his pride challenged, but his heart yet unyielding to the deeper lesson concealed within. Once, a merchant, wealthy and revered, owned a magnificent jewel, unmatched in beauty or value. The disciples leaned forward, their interest piqued by Buddha's unfolding story. Our consumption is not isolated but intricately connected to the intentions, actions, and circumstances of others, I emphasized. The merchant's brow furrowed, his thoughts visibly wrestling with the implications of my words. The merchant sought answers from seers, asking why he must suffer such a loss. Buddha explained patiently. Each seer spoke of his attachment, saying, it is not the loss of the jewel that causes your pain. Why, then, do we suffer, Lord? Asked an elder monk, his voice carrying the weight of years and reflection. We suffer, Buddha said, because we cling, because we hold to that which is impermanent and seek to make it eternal. A faint breeze rustled the leaves above, punctuating Buddha's words like the soft turning of a page. Impermanence is the nature of all things, he continued. Even this life is but a fleeting moment in the cosmos. The young monk bowed his head, tears forming in his eyes, as understanding began to dawn upon him. But Lord, how do we let go of attachments when they feel inseparable from our very being? He asked. Buddha's gaze softened, his compassion evident, as he addressed the earnest question of his disciple. When we disregard the origins of our consumption, we sever our connection with the world and its living beings. The merchant's pride diminished, replaced by an evident humility emerging from his understanding of the larger truth. Does it bring lasting joy or merely fleeting pleasure, leaving a deeper longing in its wake? Buddha asked gently. Reflect upon this truth with clarity and without judgment, he instructed, his voice steady yet tender, guiding the disciple. The young monk nodded, his mind grappling with the profound lesson Buddha imparted with every word spoken. When the merchant realized his pain arose not from the jewel, but from his desire, his sorrow eased. The Bodhi tree swayed gently as the wind carried the Buddha's words across the gathering. Planting seeds of reflection, the disciples contemplated their role as consumers and their ability to cultivate compassion in every choice they made. From that day forth, the merchant lived with mindful gratitude, honoring those who nourished his life through labor and love. The laborers found strength and dignity in knowing their efforts rippled outward, influencing lives with grace and purpose. Bhikkhus, Buddha called, reclaiming their attention with the sheer presence of his voice. Suffering is universal, but understanding is within reach. All who suffer are connected by the shared experience of impermanence, Buddha said, gesturing to the vast grove around them. The village transformed, its people embracing ethical consumption, respect, and the value of harmony in all they pursued. As the stars glimmered above, the Buddha gazed into the vast night, sensing the profound interconnectedness of all existence. See suffering as a teacher, not an enemy, Buddha said, his eyes alight with the fire of truth and compassion. Use suffering to deepen your understanding of life. As one uses a storm to learn the force of wind, the night deepened, but the lessons remained a light, guiding paths with compassion and wisdom in every act of consumption. Another day. Another gathering under the Bodhi tree. The disciples awaited the Buddha's wisdom as the sun painted the horizon. The Buddha began his tale, his voice gentle yet resonant, flowing like a stream into the hearts of his listeners. In a distant village, he said, there lived a weaver, her hands skilled in crafting garments of extraordinary beauty and comfort. Her loom hummed rhythmically, an instrument of harmony weaving threads into patterns that spoke of dedication, care, and artistry. The noblewoman of the village arrived one day, adorned in jewels, seeking a masterpiece crafted from the rarest silk. The noblewoman spoke with pride, requesting a dress that would showcase her wealth and elevate her stature in society. The weaver hesitated, for she knew that rare silk required the sacrifice of countless silkworms, beings whose lives held intrinsic value. She also pondered the jewels the noblewoman desired, mined through the labor of innocent children far from the village. The weaver faced a dilemma, torn between wealth and recognition or preserving the lives and dignity of others involved. Remember Sujata, who found wisdom by seeing that suffering is universal? Buddha concluded his lesson thoughtfully. His disciples dispersed to reflect on his words, each carrying a renewed sense of purpose. The young monk sat alone under a tree, the weight of his loss easing as understanding took root. In the quiet of Jetavana, Buddha rose, his serene steps marking the end of another timeless teaching. Her silence, while refusing the noblewoman, spoke louder than words, embodying the strength of values over material gain. The weaver continued to craft simple garments for her neighbors, weaving threads with mindfulness and care for every being. Buddha, serene and radiant, sat among them, his gaze fixed upon the horizon. The sun's warm light fell gently on his robes, illuminating the wisdom etched upon his features. Today, bhikkhus, Buddha began, his voice soothing yet profound. I shall speak of compassion and its transformative power. A young disciple, nervous yet eager, raised his hand and spoke. Lord, how does one truly practice compassion in daily life? Buddha's eyes softened as he turned to the disciple, his gaze filled with gentle understanding. Let me tell you a story, Buddha said, his tone drawing the disciples closer in rapt attention. Once, a wandering monk came upon a man weeping beside a dried riverbed. Her decision rippled through the village, inspiring others to reflect on their own actions and their broader impact. The Buddha paused, his words settling like seeds in fertile soil, planting reflections in the hearts of his disciples. He continued, to be mindful in consumption is to harmonize our actions with our values, creating cycles of compassion and understanding. The weaver shows that ethical consumerism is not about abstinence but about deliberate contribution to the greater harmony. Our choices ripple outward, disciples, affecting lives and resonating with the interconnected fabric of existence. He emphasized. The weaver's tale lingered among the disciples, urging them to seek balance, compassion, and mindfulness in their own lives. Under the Bodhi tree, the teachings wove themselves into the minds and hearts of those who came to hear them. The village embraced the lesson, choosing simplicity, kindness, and integrity over indulgence that diminished the dignity of others. The young disciple nodded, his eyes filled with newfound clarity as Buddha's words sank into his heart. To truly counsel another, my disciples, you must first empty yourself of judgment and fill yourself with understanding, Buddha added. The disciples bowed deeply, carrying forth the wisdom into their own actions, rippling compassion into the world around them. Another day, another bustling market filled with chatter, colorful goods, and the ceaseless hum of human desires and exchanges. The Buddha walked through the market, observing the intricate dance of buyers, sellers, and the endless cycle of trade. At a quiet corner, he noticed an empty stall, its keeper seated calmly, immersed in quiet meditation amidst the chaos. The Buddha approached and gently asked, "Why is your stall empty while others are vibrant with goods and eager exchanges?" The keeper opened his eyes, his expression serene, and replied, "Years ago, I traded rare spices and exotic treasures. I prospered greatly," he continued. "But I observed the greed in my customers growing with every transaction I made. They sought to possess rather than appreciate, accumulating goods as if fulfillment lay in the excess of their acquisitions. Their hearts grew heavy with desires unfulfilled, and my role in this cycle brought me no lasting peace. So I chose to abandon my trade, surrendering material gain to embrace simplicity and find joy in giving instead." The Buddha listened intently, his expression thoughtful as the keeper's words resonated with the teachings of compassion and balance. "You have touched the essence of mindful living," the Buddha said. "Understanding that true wealth lies in the freedom from greed, the empty stall becomes a profound symbol of what we choose to release, allowing space for harmony and generosity." The keeper nodded and said, "I now offer wisdom, not goods, to those who seek fulfillment beyond the tangible and fleeting." A group of merchants gathered, overhearing the conversation, their curiosity piqued by the stillness of the empty market stall. One merchant asked, "If we abandon trade, how do we sustain ourselves and our families?" "Buddha?" The Buddha replied, "Sustainability and trade are not inherently harmful, but the intentions behind them shape their impact on the world. Trade with mindfulness, ensuring that your pursuits do not harm others or fuel the fires of insatiable desire and greed. Offer goods that bring true value, and seek exchanges that honor the dignity and well-being of all involved." The merchants listened, their expressions reflecting a mixture of curiosity and contemplation as they absorbed the Buddha's guidance. The keeper of the stall added, "When I let go of wealth, I discovered a deeper joy in acts of kindness and connection. My empty stall does not signify a lack but a conscious choice to cultivate fulfillment from within," he explained. The Buddha turned to the crowd, addressing them with clarity. "Ethical consumerism requires mindfulness of how our choices ripple outward. Every transaction carries energy, intentions, and consequences, shaping not only individual lives but the collective harmony of existence. As a lotus rises from the muddy waters, so too can love arise from a heart burdened by pain," Buddha said. "Be that steady presence, my disciples, that listens without judgment and speaks with the voice of kindness," Buddha urged. "Compassion is the act of extending yourself into the world, weaving harmony through the threads of understanding," Buddha explained. The sun rose higher, casting its golden light upon the grove, bathing Buddha and his disciples in its warmth. The Buddha smiled, his heart warmed by the exchange, and continued, "Generosity nourishes both the giver and the receiver. In the act of giving, we dissolve the barriers of self-interest, opening pathways to deeper connections and mutual growth." The merchants began discussing among themselves, their perspectives on trade, wealth, and ethical choices shifting with newfound awareness. The Buddha said, The marketplace is a reflection of human desires and values. Let it also become a space of mindfulness and compassion. The disciples bowed as one, their hearts filled with gratitude for the profound truths Buddha had shared. Another day, Buddha sat quietly, watching the disciples go forth into the world to practice the teachings imparted. Under the shade of the Bodhi tree, Buddha closed his eyes, the stillness of the grove enveloping him like a calm river. Compassion flowed like a timeless current, carried in the hearts of his disciples, touching lives far beyond the grove. The keeper continued his meditations, his quiet actions inspiring many to reevaluate their priorities and embrace lives of simplicity. The market evolved, its bustling energy balanced with moments of stillness, reflection, and meaningful exchanges among its participants. The Buddha concluded, "In choosing simplicity, we find freedom. In mindful giving, we create abundance. And in compassion, we cultivate peace." The disciples marveled at the lesson. The marketplace itself now a living example of the teachings they sought to embody. The crowd dispersed, carrying with them the seeds of transformation, ready to sow mindful and compassionate actions in their lives. The sun dipped below the horizon, the Buddha's wisdom illuminating the hearts of all who had gathered that day. The mind is like a restless monkey, leaping from thought to thought, but it can be tamed, Buddha replied. "Let me tell you a story," Buddha said, drawing the assembly into the web of timeless wisdom he wove. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.